You are watching No Filter with Debbie. These are my views and opinions. Welcome to No Filter with Debbie. I'm Debbie Schlussel, and you know what's driving me crazy? That I'm now suddenly a fashion icon. I guess I gotta go like this. Maybe I need to have a mask on, one of those parkas. See, I told you I had the same gloves as Bernie. See, we have the same gloves. See, his are brown with some patterns. Mine are yellow with some patterns. They're both made from used sweaters. You can't only get them in Vermont. You could get them anywhere at any art fair. Doesn't make you a fashion icon. But you know what? That's what the liberal mainstream media is all about. When Bernie Sanders does something, when AOC does something, when anybody connected with Joe Biden does something, or anybody connected with Barack Obama does something, they're a fashion icon. Fashion is back again. No big deal. Like I said on previous shows last week, that Melania Trump is the real fashion icon. And this is, by the way, how the fashion industry works. You could have something ugly like these, and they are kind of charming, but they're ugly. You could go like this, and suddenly you're a fashion icon. You start this trend. That's how it works. I think this was parodied in a Rodney Dangerfield movie. I can't remember what it's called. Easy Money. It's a farce. It's ridiculous. And hopefully that's the last we see of Bernie's gloves. My gloves, not so much. I'm going to keep wearing them. All right, so that's driving me crazy. Also, what's driving me crazy is the impeachment. All right. So we know that as of Friday, Nancy Pelosi announced that today the impeachment articles would be sent to the U.S. Senate. We know that the trial is set for February 8th or 9th so that the former president, Donald Trump, could get together his legal defense team. And I'm telling you, even though we showed you this video on Friday of Mitch McConnell from a week or two ago, basically laying out the case and the opening salvo to vote to impeach the president, President Trump, I'm sorry, he was already impeached, but to remove him, to vote to remove him. I believe, as I said on Friday, there are not going to be enough votes. And now today, more and more Republican senators have announced that they are going to vote against this. The momentum for the people who want to engage in this pettiness is not on the petty people's side. The momentum is on the side of President Trump. And why is that? Because I'll tell you something. Anybody who votes to remove the president is going to have a primary race, and they should, because this is ridiculous. The man is gone. You don't even see him in the news anymore. And the only reason you see him at all in the news is the mention that he's going to be having his removal trial or his impeachment trial in the U.S. Senate in a couple of weeks. That's the only reason you hear about it. And I have said on this show before, I did not like when President Trump constantly invoked the memory of John McCain and tried to basically put him on trial like a former pope once did to a dead pope. And I feel like they're doing the same thing to President Trump here. So we'll see what happens. The momentum is not on their side. Now, we have a video of Senator Schumer, and here's what he had to say.
Now, as I mentioned, the Senate will also conduct a second impeachment trial for Donald Trump. I've been speaking to the Republican leader about the timing and duration of the trial, but make no mistake, a trial will be held in the United States Senate, and there will be a vote on whether to convict the president. I have spoken to Speaker Pelosi, who informed me that the articles will be delivered to the Senate on Monday. Now, I've heard some of my Republican colleagues argue that this trial would be unconstitutional because Donald Trump is no longer in office, an argument that has been roundly repudiated, debunked by hundreds of constitutional scholars, left, right, and center, and defies basic common sense. It makes no sense whatsoever that a president or any official could commit a heinous crime against our country and then be permitted to resign so as to avoid accountability and a vote to disbar them from future office. Makes no sense. Regardless, the purveyors of this unusual argument are trying to delay the inevitable. The fact is, the House will deliver the article of impeachment to the Senate. The Senate will conduct a trial of the impeachment of Donald Trump. It will be a full trial. It will be a fair trial. But make no mistake, there will be a trial, and when that trial ends, senators will have to decide if they believe Donald John Trump incited the insurrection against the United States.
All right, so you heard that little faux pas. We called that a Freudian slip on behalf of Senator Schumer. We know what he was thinking about, and it was not lofty thoughts. Well, maybe it was lofty based on the word he said. Anyway, he said that it makes no sense, blah, blah, blah. You know what makes no sense? What makes no sense is holding this. He said that whether or not you can impeach a former president or remove a former president from office has been repudiated and debunked by many constitutional scholars. No, it hasn't. By your chosen constitutional scholars, that is actually an open question. The Supreme Court hasn't decided this. And that's why John Roberts is not going to be presiding over this trial, because he's going to have to decide this case when it gets to the Supreme Court. And I don't say if and when, because we know there's no if. This is going to be headed to the Supreme Court, probably, and maybe not if the president is not removed. And I don't think he'll be removed. They are not going to find 17 senators. We already know both of our senators, Senator Kramer, Senator Hoeven, they are voting against this. Just as our Congressman Kelly Armstrong voted against this in the House. He said that the president incited this. Again, as I've said on previous shows, I don't think that's clear at all. I don't think the president said, go do violence. I told you my reservations with how the president acted. And I still have those reservations. But that doesn't mean he incited this thing. We know this was planned weeks before. We know, we've discussed this on this show. The FBI got a report 2 weeks before. They knew this was going to happen. They did nothing. Famous but incompetent. That's why many other law enforcement officials call the FBI by that moniker. Because it fits. So there's that. So this makes no sense. Now, let's say it is constitutionally sound and you can do it. So what? Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. And you know what? I'll tell you something. I am happy this trial is going on. I think it's a sad day for the president. I don't like what they're doing to him, President Trump. But I'm happy it's going on because it will enrage people on the right. It will enrage people who voted for the president, who maybe had some reservations with what he did in the 2 months after the election. Maybe it gave them pause. Maybe they changed their mind. They weren't so sure about the president and supporting him anymore. And this will push them back in his corner. And not only that, but it will push people back in solidarity with conservatives. This is going to backfire on them. Watch my words. I'm telling you. You will see in a month that I am right. All right, now, what is really a travesty is one of the House impeachment managers is Eric Swalwell. And we've talked about Eric Swalwell on this show before. Do we have a picture of him? Yeah, him. Eric Swalwell, who is well known as Feng Feng's boyfriend. Remember Feng Feng or Feng Feng? She's the Chinese spy, and he slept with her. He won't talk about it. I think this is day 40-something or 50-something that he will not, maybe it's 30-something. He won't talk about his affair with this Chinese spy who compromised many U.S. congressmen, all of them Democrats, by the way, all of them liberals. And he is a House impeachment manager. He himself should be removed from office, not President Trump, who never did anything of the sort. And when we come back, we are going to talk about something completely different, which is we are going to talk to a North Dakota state senator who has a very interesting bill, and it has a lot to do with how you live your daily life in North Dakota and whether or not it's a good idea. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Four Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy-to-clean surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Four Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Four Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Heroes and Icons is now Cozy TV. Don't worry, you'll still get your favorite Beck News programming without changing the channel. Real people, real news, Beck News.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. Joining us today on No Filter is our special guest, State Senator Jason Heitkamp. Senator Heitkamp, welcome to No Filter with Debbie.
Well, thank you. I'm live from the Fort Lincoln room at the bottom of the Capitol where they've allowed me to have a space.
Well, that's great. So we brought you on today because I read that you introduced what I think is a very interesting bill, and I'd like you to tell our viewers about it.
The Daylight Savings Time bill is something that, I live in the Wyoming, North Dakota area, and I travel to Bottineau quite a bit because that's where my girlfriend's at. And anywhere across the state that I go, people have on their minds that they want to get rid of Daylight Savings Time. And not only that, they want to be on Daylight Savings Time 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They do not want to go back to standard time. And in fact, when I pushed the button to introduce the bill, I received a text message at that time from a person I rarely talk to saying, we need to do something about Daylight Savings Time. So it's like a sign from God. We need to get rid of this.
Well, let me ask you this. As you know, North Dakota has two different time zones. Part of North Dakota is on the Central Time Zone. Part of it isn't. So how would this affect that?
Well, for one thing, it's not going to affect common carriers like trucks, airplanes, anything like that. So, we just need to get that out of the way right away. When I wake up in Bottineau and I look at my security cameras on the farm, it's dark in Bottineau and it's light in Richland County. And so the bills previously had tried to put the state of North Dakota on one time zone, and the state is just too wide to be doing that. And so my bill calls for keeping it on, two different time zones and staying on Daylight Savings Time the whole time.
All right, so people who are on, for example, Central Time Zone, and they're on Daylight Savings Time all year round, let's say your bill goes into effect, Then what happens in other states where they're on Central Time? They're going to be on a different time when they're not on daylight savings time. Won't they cause some confusion?
No, I have a cell phone and it tells me the right time. I'm just teasing you because this year, actually, for daylight savings time, just the last time we changed, I only have my cell phone for my phone, my alarm, everything. Okay. And then I got into my Tahoe and it was like, oh my God, I'm going to be late for work, because I hadn't changed that clock yet. So it screws you up, even if you know that the time has changed. And so I quickly calmed myself and went to work.
So let me ask you this. Most of the rest of the country is on daylight savings time for part of the year. There are only, I think, a couple states, Arizona and Hawaii, that are not on daylight savings time, I think at all, if I'm correct. So if North Dakota goes completely to daylight savings time, I know you said you're going to look on your phone and you'll know what time it is, but we'll be different from the whole rest of the country. Do we need to be that different?
Well, what you are seeing though, and I don't know what the research was, I don't have my paperwork in front of me, and I do apologize for that.
It's okay.
But there are at least 7 states, and there's going to be close to 17 states that are trying to go to daylight savings time, according to the research that I did. And so the only thing that's stopping us from doing this, once the bill is passed, is we have to get the United States government to allow that. And so we have to get Senator Hoeven, Senator Kramer, and Representative Armstrong to help pass a bill so that we can use daylight savings time instead of standard. Because right now we could go to standard time without any problem, but to go to daylight savings time only, we would have to have a law passed to do that. And I'm sure we can get that passed.
I was going to ask you about that. Why is it necessary? Why do we have to get the federal government's permission to do that in North Dakota? Why is that?
Well, I'm not advocating anything here, but I don't think we should have to. I've talked to people in one of the senators' offices. I won't say which one because I don't want to cause any problems. But they were like, "There's so much problems out in Washington that we'll never get that done." That's what they told me. And you know what? The people of North Dakota want this. I know it sounds frivolous, but it's not. Wherever I go, Antler, North Dakota, Bottineau, North Dakota, Wyoming, North Dakota, everyone wants to end the changing of time. And they want to go to daylight savings time. And so, this is a priority across our state, whether you want to believe it or not. And they need to work with us. Other states are going to this process. And so it's time that they wake up and take care of this.
Well, why would we want to go to this all year round? Why not just go completely off daylight savings time like Arizona and Hawaii?
Well, for one thing, Hawaii, I don't understand Hawaii. They're not on either or something like that. They don't switch at all. Arizona went to standard time only, from what I understand. One thing about it is, years ago, the cows used to have to get milked, okay? But the cows basically can milk themselves now. They get onto a carousel. Everything is taken care of without people. So, we don't have to have the changing of the time to help the farmers anymore, because the farmers are going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week right now. And the business that I work for in Wahpeton, North Dakota, they work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, our lives have changed, and now it's time to make it so that we don't have to, there's some people that actually lose sleep because they can't get adjusted to the time change.
Okay, but you didn't answer. But you didn't answer my question. Why daylight savings time? Why would we want to go on that 24/7? Why don't we want to just get off of it completely?
Okay. One thing that I've talked about previously is I used to drive bus, and I still have my bus license. But in the wintertime, you gain an extra hour of daylight, and so that's a great deal, because in the morning, if the roads are bad, you can always call school off 2 hours in the morning, or call school off altogether. But if the kids are in school and it's dark and the wind's blowing and they have a heck of a time getting home, I think it's for the safety of the kids. And I really do believe that is one of the reasons that we need to do this.
Okay, so let's say you drop the language from your bill saying if the federal government changes this. Let's say you just put in your bill that we're changing all of North Dakota to daylight savings time. You said that you need the federal government's permission. What would happen if North Dakota just changes? Are there any penalties? What would happen?
Well, I don't know. There's some people that try to control us by taking away federal dollars. I mean, we don't know what they'll do, but the foolish part is if this is what the people want to do, then this is what we should do.
Let me ask you this. Your last name is Heitkamp. Are you related to our former U.S. Senator Heidi Heitkamp and my colleague here at Beck, her brother Joel Heitkamp?
Well, it depends on if you talk to Joel or not. Joel says that me and him aren't cousins, but our dads were first cousins. So I do say that Joel is my cousin, and you can't just get rid of that by sending a text message to someone and saying that you don't consider them to be your cousin anymore. I won't say that he did that or not, but I could show it to you one day.
It has been a delight to have you on our show. We would love to have you back. Please keep in touch and let us know of some of the other bills you are introducing. And we hope your bill gets due consideration. Thank you so much for being on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Could I add one thing yet?
Sure.
It says here 13 states are going to daylight savings time. And in 2020, Georgia, Idaho, there's a whole plethora of states that are trying to go to straight daylight savings time. There's quite a few.
Great. Well, thank you for letting us know. Again, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you for coming on No Filter with Debbie on Beck. When we come back, we will be talking more about the impeachment and why I think that maybe some people in North Dakota should be impeached. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here were terrific. We enjoy it.
Beck News brings you real people and real news. Every weekday on KNDB, KNDM, and KRDK. Start your evening with the Dr. Duke Show at 4. Take a fresh look at current events with Ladies of Another View at 4:30. Go down the road with Joel at 5:30. Watch No Apologies with Becker at 9. Cap off your night with No Filter with Debbie at 10. Beck News. Real people, real news.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So, in the first segment of the show, we were talking about the impeachment. And if you believe that President Trump incited all of this violence, and I told you, I have my reservations with some of the things he did, but he absolutely cannot be blamed for inciting all of this. The FBI and the Senate and House Sergeant at Arms and the National Guard at the Pentagon, whoever oversees them, they can all be faulted for not stopping this because this was foreseeable. It was planned for weeks, and they knew about it. And the Capitol Hill Police Chief Stephen Sund even said that he contacted the Pentagon and he contacted the House and Senate Sergeant at Arms and said, we need more manpower. They did not want bad optics. They didn't want a bad photo op. So here's what really gets me. And that is this attack. We told you about this on Senator Hovind's office. And as you watch this video, think about if this is any different than what they did at the U.S. Capitol, because I maintain it is not. Look at this video. This is a guy, Thomas Alexander Starks. He has been charged both federally and statewide. He takes an axe. He is trying to break in or destroy the entrance to Senator Hovind's office. How is that any different than what they did at the Capitol? It isn't. So he didn't go inside. He probably could have, but it looks like that glass in that door gave him a little trouble. He did make holes in it. But how is that different? He could have gone in there. He could have taken what he wanted. He did attack the office. That's enough to charge him. It was enough to charge a lot of people at the Capitol. Some of the people at the Capitol just walked in. They didn't do any destruction like this guy. So isn't this guy a domestic terrorist? By the definition, they're telling us everyone on the Capitol, and I absolutely deplore and condemn what happened at the Capitol. Absolutely. We cannot condone violence by anyone, whether it's the rioters on the streets of America for the past year because of George Floyd and even before that, or whether it's this guy, Thomas Alexander Starks, a.k.a. Taz, or whether it is what happened at the Capitol. None of that should be condoned. All of it should be condemned. I'm consistent. The people on the left are not. And among those who is not consistent is Kylie Overson. So Kylie Overson is the chairman of the Democratic Nonpartisan League Party. She's the head Democrat, and we will try and get her on the show because I would like her explanation on why she donated to the Legal Defense Fund of this domestic terrorist. Because by her party's definition of the rioters at the Capitol, Thomas Alexander Starks is a domestic terrorist. She donated money to his Legal Defense Fund. She said that she understands how times are so hard right now, and he can't get a job, and he can't pay for a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. Well. You know what? Why didn't she donate to any of the Capitol rioters? What is the difference? Other than the letter after the name of the person they voted for president. There's no difference. He has left-wing politics. They have right-wing politics. Some of them we know didn't have right-wing politics. We showed you this guy, John Sullivan, who was an Antifa person and a double agent, and we know who he is. And I told you about this trans that was there with a clip of bullets, high rapid speed feeding bullets, who was trans and Black Lives Matter. So we know that not everybody there was from the left. But I'm just saying there is a double standard. And speaking of double standards, watch this video of all the violence, or some of the violence we have endured before the Capitol riots. right, so you saw that video. There's footage of them destroying property. They're destroying monuments. They're destroying people's businesses, destroying America. We've seen this really on steroids for the last year, but we've seen it before. And you didn't hear any condemnation from Bernie Sanders. You saw him, basically, he's like this. You didn't see him condemning this. Same with all the Democrats and all the left-wingers. Not one of them. Don Lemon, George Stephanopoulos, any of these people, none of them have condemned this. None of them. Wolf Blitzer, none of them. AOC, they did not condemn this. It is a double standard. And I wonder what Kylie Overson, the chairman of the North Dakota Democrat Nonpartisan League Party, I wonder if she will condemn it. I bet you she won't. I'll bet you if we showed her that video and I said to her, are those people domestic terrorists? She'd probably say no. Or she just wouldn't answer. She would writhe out of it and do some pretzel-like acrobatics to get away from saying that they're terrorists, because that's what they are. They're terrorists. And nobody spoke out against them. There's no impeachment trial of all these mayors and governors who did nothing to stop that. Shouldn't they be charged the same way that President Trump is charged, when President Trump did, frankly, far less than these governors and these mayors who basically let it be known that they did not want the federal government to protect their towns. That's what's going on. They're hypocrites. It's a double standard, and it cannot stand in America. Unfortunately, it is standing, and the joke is on us. All right. When we come back, it's interesting. Twitter and Facebook have double standards also. And we'll tell you about what they allowed on Twitter, yet they've gotten rid of President Trump. And also, who's going to decide on Facebook your future and President Trump's future. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Howdy, folks. It's a Canline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our hay-bossing breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Canline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering is the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So, President Trump, as you know, has lost his Twitter account forever. But I want to show you what is allowed on Twitter and doesn't violate its rules. Look at this. So, I think we have this tweet. Do we have the tweet? I don't know if we do. But basically, there is a lawsuit against Twitter because they have allowed child porn on Twitter. Child porn. Yes. Videos and pictures of children being molested, being attacked, being touched, being violated. That has been on Twitter, and there is a lawsuit. This was reported by the New York Post against Twitter. It has just been filed, saying that they alerted Twitter many times, and Twitter did not care, saying it does not violate its terms of service. But you know what does violate its terms of service? President Trump talking about the election. So I get it. You cannot talk about the election and whether or not you are entitled to, you're not entitled to your opinion that it was stolen. I don't believe it was stolen, but I do believe there was a lot of fraud. I don't know if there's enough to say it was stolen, but there was a lot of fraud. We know that. We know they changed the rules, and we will talk about that in a minute. But I know that I'm entitled to my opinion, and so is the president. He was removed from Twitter for talking about that. All right? But who was not removed? And also because they claim that he set off the violence on the Capitol, which he never did. There was no tweet saying to do that. Everyone knows that. And Twitter just said, well, we're afraid for everyone's safety, so we're going to take him down. All right, so Twitter allows child pornography, but not a then sitting president of the United States talking about an election and expressing his opinion. That's their double standard. Now, he's also been yanked from Facebook. Facebook's decision has not been made permanent yet. Facebook has a Supreme Court, and this Supreme Court is the body of 20 people they have appointed who get to decide your future and my future and Donald Trump's future. And I want to talk to you about who is on this board, all right? There are human rights lawyers. That means leftists, all right? There is this woman, Afia Asantewa Asari Kie. Sorry if I can't pronounce her name. She's a human rights advocate in West Africa. That means leftist. Evelyn Aswad, who served as a State Department lawyer on international human rights. Guess what? She is of Arabic descent. She is very left-wing. She's not going to be on the president's side or your side or mine. Endi Bayuni, who's a journalist that was editor-in-chief of the Jakarta Post. That's Jakarta's Indonesia, an Islamic republic, which and she or he promotes excellence in the coverage of religion and spirituality. So, promoting Islam. Think he or she is going to be on your side or my side or the president's side? Think again. And we don't have time to go into all of these people, but basically it is human rights left-wing lawyers. There's somebody, Jamal Green, a Columbia law professor, total leftist. There is Pamela Karlan, Stanford law professor, who specializes in LGBTQ plus rights. She is not going to be on the president's side. Tawakkol Karman, who is a Yemeni Arab Spring activist. You think that person's going to be on any of our sides if we get kicked off of Facebook? Good luck with that. There are more and more of these. There's like one libertarian. Oh, there's the former prime minister of Denmark, a socialist country, who also then served as CEO of Save the Children, which is an anti-Israel, pro-Muslim, pro-third world despotic organization. That's who is on this Supreme Court. There's one libertarian and one George W. Bush person. George W. Bush, I told you about him. He's a liberal too, and he is mad at the president. He's jealous his brother didn't get elected, and he thanked Congressman Clyburn for being the savior for getting Joe Biden elected, and defeating Trump. That's who's deciding our futures on Facebook. Yep, Section 230 needs to be yanked from this organization and all of these tech giants because they are just out of their minds. They're not interested in public debate or free thought. They are interested in pushing an agenda, period. And we don't fit into that agenda. We don't. And if you don't, good luck to you, because you are going to be persona non grata. All right, now, when it comes to the election, we have this video to show you, and I know we're going to go over the break a little bit, but this was Rand Paul on Sunday. He was asked by George, I call him George Stephanopoulos, but George Stephanopoulos, the host, the self-important Clintonista, he worked for Bill Clinton, Clintonista host of This Week on ABC. And I think that Rand Paul gave it to him good. Watch this.
This election was not stolen. Do you accept that fact?
Well, what I would say is that the debate over whether or not there was fraud should occur. We never had any presentation in court where we actually looked at the evidence. Most of the cases were thrown out for lack of standing, which is a procedural way of not actually hearing the question. There were several states in which the law was changed by the Secretary of State and not the state legislature. To me, those are clearly unconstitutional, and I think there's still a chance that those actually do finally work their way up to the Supreme Court. Courts traditionally and historically don't like to hear election questions. But yes, were there people who voted twice? Were there dead people who voted? Were there illegal aliens who voted? Yes, and we should get to the bottom of it. I'll give you an example. In my state, when we had a Democrat Secretary of State, she refused, even under federal order, to purge the rolls of illegal voters. We got a Republican Secretary of State, and he purged the rolls.
But Senator Paul,
I have a difference, and those things
I have to stop you there. No election is perfect, but there were 86 challenges filed by President Trump and his allies in court. All were dismissed. Every state certified the results after investigations, counts, and recounts. The Department of Justice, led by William Barr, said there's no widespread evidence of fraud. Can't you just say the words, this election was not stolen?
What I would suggest is that if we want greater confidence in our elections, and 75% of Republicans agree with me, is that we do need to look at election integrity, and we do need to see if we can restore confidence in the elections.
Well, 75% of Republicans agree with you because they were fed a big lie by President Trump and his supporters who say the election was stolen. Why can't you say,
well, I think where you make a mistake, hey, George, where you make a mistake is that people coming from the liberal side like you immediately say everything's a lie instead of saying there are two sides to everything. Historically, what would happen is if I said that I thought there was fraud, you would interview someone else who said there wasn't. But now you insert yourself in the middle and say the absolute fact is that everything I'm saying is a lie.
Well, because, Senator, I said what the president said was a lie because he said, hold on a second. He said the election was stolen. This election was not stolen. The results were certified in every single state after counts and recounts.
You're saying that absolutely you're saying there was no fraud and it's all been investigated. That's just not true.
It's not what I said, sir. I said the Department of Justice found no evidence. Let me finish my point.
You
said something that was not true.
You say we're all liars. You're just simply saying we're all liars. And
I said it was a lie that the election was stolen.
Premise that you're right and we're wrong. Well, let's talk about the specifics of it. In Wisconsin, tens of thousands of absentee votes had only the name on them and no address. Historically, those were thrown out. This time they weren't. They made special accommodations because they said, oh, it's a pandemic and people forgot what their address was. So they changed the law after the fact. That is wrong. That's unconstitutional. And I plan on spending the next 2 years going around state to state and fixing these problems. And I won't be cowed by liberals in the media who say, there's no evidence here and you're a liar if you talk about election fraud. No, let's have an open debate. It's a free country. That's the problem with the media today is they say all Republicans are liars and everything we say is a lie. There are two sides to every story. Interview somebody on the other side, but don't insert yourself into the story to say we're all liars because we did some fraud in the election.
There are not two sides to the story. This has been looked at in every single state. The election
sure
results
there
were
are.
certified
There
in
are
every
two sides to
single
every
state.
story. George, you're forgetting who you are. You're forgetting who you are as a journalist. If you think there's only one side, you're inserting yourself into the story to say, I'm a liar because I want to look at election fraud and I want to look at secretaries of state who illegally changed the voter laws without the permission of their state legislatures. That is incontrovertible. It happened. And you can't just sweep that under the rug and say, oh, nothing to see here, and everybody's a liar and you're a fool if you bring this up. You're inserting yourself into the story. A journalist would hear both sides, and there are two sides to this story.
That's not what I said.
The fact that tens of thousands of absentee ballots did not have addresses on them and normally were disqualified, but this time they were counted. Should we examine that? I don't know whether it affected the election or not, but I have an open mind, and if we actually examine this and we find out it didn't, that's fine, but it still should be fixed.
Amen. All right, you notice how George Stephanopoulos constantly talked over him and interrupted him. Why? Because Rand Paul won every round of this fight. It was a TKO. George Stephanopoulos, he was absolutely right. You're forgetting who you are. I'm not sure he forgets who he is. He's an advocate. He's supposed to be a journalist, but he's an advocate. We know it. Rand Paul knows it, and we're sick of it. Be fair, be objective. There is just no pretense to that anymore. And as far as him saying, oh, that's been decided, it's a fact. No, it hasn't. It's like they said about Hunter Biden. Oh, that's been decided. There's nothing there. It's been debunked. He's been cleared. No, he hasn't. By whom? It just hasn't happened. All right, when we come back, Larry King passed away this weekend. And you may not like my take on him, but it's not the same as everybody else. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Howdy, folks. It's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a comb roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Coulter Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best-built, best-backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. As you probably know, because it's been on every single news show, every single pop culture show, every single show, every publication, Larry King, the late CNN broadcaster, died over the weekend. And I just think it's risen to hyperbolic levels, the praise for this guy, who, frankly, in my opinion, and you're not going to like this if you were a fan of his, I think he's the emperor with no clothing. He wasn't the world's greatest interviewer, or even close. He wasn't even a good interviewer. All right, some of you might get upset about this, but I'm just sick of the over-the-top praise for him. He seems like he was a nice guy, but none of his interviews were all that interesting. A lot of it was inane. He never prepared for interviews. It's something that he bragged about. I found him to be boring and very obsequious and fawning to celebrities. And I want you to take a look at this interview that he did with Marlon Brando, that for an example.
Bum, 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 bum. Got a date with an angel. You're off key. Gonna be there at 7. Got a date with an angel. And I'm on my way to heaven. Got an angel beside me. Got a whatever to guide me. Got a date with an angel. And I'm on my way to heaven. When the chapel bells ring out. Gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. Darling, goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Ugh. All right. We only showed you part of it. That was the end of the interview. But this was a obsequious interview to the nth degree. This guy was, I can't even use the words on a family show of what I think about what happened in that interview. And it was like that all the time. And I think SNL did a great job of mocking it. Watch this. I mean, close enough. He basically almost did massage his feet, and basically that skit went on with him fawning to Larry King. Fawning to Marlon Brando. This guy, I don't think I learned anything ever from any of his interviews. Did you? If you did, let us know on our social media page. And then he had a USA Today column, which was something like, I like my ice cream cold and my soup hot, ... and other obvious things like that. And he had tweets of the same nature. Look at these tweets that we have that he had. I can't remember the last time I was on a bus. Wow, so insightful. All right, let's see the other one. I love the feeling of a scarf. Another scintillating insight, so profound. So forgive me if I don't join the bandwagon of what a great guy, so fantastic. And I think that those who do are in a certain group. They are the liberal celebrities he fawned to, and people like Meghan McCain. And, he was great at one thing, and that was getting married and divorced. And I'll credit him for one thing. I think he was a very proud American, and may he rest in peace, but I just didn't drink his Kool-Aid. Now, before we go, I want you to take a look at this photo and tweet from Jim Carrey. So Jim Carrey thinks he's something of an artist, and he says, "Oh, and goodbye, worst first lady. I hope the settlement can finance your life in the shallow end. Thanks for nothing." What did Melania Trump ever do to Jim Carrey? What did Donald Trump ever do to Jim Carrey? Jim Carrey had some of the most disgusting, macabre art about the two of them. He's a lowlife. He's a has-been. Yes, I know he's rolling in money, and I know that every once in a while he has some bad TV show on one of the cable channels, but this guy is so over, and I'm just sick of him. You know what? I'd rather have Melania as the first lady than Jim Carrey as a comedian or actor in public life. Who needs him? Just go away, Jim Carrey. Oh, and take some artistic lessons. Your art is on the level of my nephew in 5th grade. All right? Remember, things are not always as they seem. See you tomorrow.